Good morning. Welcome to Coffee with Jen and Sharon.
Good
I
morning,
ca-
everybody.
I don't see your coffee or tea, Jen.
I forgot again. I'm
And today,
worried.
and today we're talking about fall, and we should have our cozy warm drinks. Isn't it
I
cold in
know.
your house today?
Well, yeah, I'm wearing slippers. So
Okay,
that's how you know it's fall in my house is when I start wearing socks and slippers.
definitely. Summer is the time to catch up on sock laundry. All those missing socks, if they don't show up in the summertime.
No, they don't. Yeah, they show up months later. And by the
Oh,
way,
but
you know, I finally got rid of all the socks on the sock bench.
the single socks.
I had to do it. I dumped out both girls' sock drawers and my own. And oh, Sharon went away. There she is. And then I matched up the ones I could, and anybody who didn't have a partner, I'm sorry to say, was voted off the island. So
Oh,
we're
sad for the socks.
starting at zero. Okay. Right now we have zero unmatched socks. Let's see how long we can keep
All
it.
right, so we're talking about fall fun, and hopefully fall fun gets funner than socks,
Yeah,
right?
but I think it will. I have high hopes for this. I think it's going to get funner than socks.
Do you have a list for us today, Jen?
I-
Oh, okay. I have my list too on my index card.
Okay.
Well, you want to start?
Sure. Well, I was just going to set it up a little bit to say what put this on my mind is that if you cast your mind back to the days when you had elementary school kids, which is not, you don't have to look back as far as I do for that to happen. The most important holiday for them, most likely, was Halloween. No matter what religion you do or don't have. Oh, thank you, Jean, with the socks. Thank you. I'm glad you liked my idea. But the most important holiday was Halloween because it's about the costume, it's about the candy, the excitement of going out with your friends to go trick or treating. Oh, are you having a visitor in your office, Sharon?
I already shooed him away. Yes.
How about online learning? Don't
There
they
was
know?
a stray teenager came in.
Shoo! We're talking about you, not with you.
It's only fair because I apparently I went to the kitchen to get my tea a few minutes ago, and I interrupted another teenager who was in the middle of making a video, which apparently couldn't be made with an audience. And then I apparently time expired or something because I spent 60 seconds getting tea. So we're all interrupting each other, and now I've interrupted you talking about
when your kids become your
Halloween.
coworkers, it's all bets are off. So anyway, here's what I was going to tell you is that I have already started seeing on the community Facebook groups the angst of these parents with younger kids about, do you think there's going to be trick or treat? What will we do about Halloween? They are experiencing secondhand anxiety, maybe even in proxy for their kids who probably haven't even thought about it yet. But the parents are already worried and upset about it. And I totally am here for them because that was me. I was that parent who was like, starting in August, I'm like, should we think about what you're going to do for your Halloween costume? Because we like to make creative costumes. So it's kind of a sad thing when that stops being their paramount concern. Yeah. And I felt like there were a lot of those kind of fall rituals, like apple picking and pumpkin picking and going on the hayride. And then at some point, like as a parent, you love it so much, and they kind of stop loving it.
Yeah. And this year, it's kind of a double whammy because some of those things might be fading anyway. The trick or treat. When was the last trick or treat season? When will the last trick or treat year be? And then, it can happen naturally, which has sadness to it. But then when it stopped prematurely, like, what if this was going to be the last trick or treat year?
Right.
I saw yesterday.
Not because of COVID, but because they're doing
right. Right. But I saw yesterday that the CDC came out and was talking about Halloween activities and how dangerous they were. And they put trick-or-treating high. They said trick-or-treating is high. I forget what word they used, but it was a danger, high danger, high risk maybe. And then like even trunk or treat, which we never did in our area where you go to different cars, that's considered high risk. Of course, haunted houses where they're screaming because you're screaming droplets. We never did that. But last year I had 2 trick-or-treaters and 1 non-trick-or-treater because my eldest last year decided we're too old, and he decided to have some friends over instead, which sounded great. So we made lasagna, and I wanted it to be Halloweeny and special. So I said, "Oh, we should have some games, and we do not have a board game tournament, and oh, we can have candy as prizes and this and that." He's like, "Mom, just just let us hang out. Just stop." Um, so I kind of got the hand to go back to what we used to say 20 years ago about, I was still ready to make it Halloweenish and special, and all they wanted to do was just be together and not do anything for Halloween.
I know it's really hard. Sometimes it really is about the parents, and we have to put what we want a little bit to the side. But I have to think there are some creative ways that we can keep some of those fall traditions that we still enjoy alive and mean something to our kids. But maybe we just have to be a little trickier about it. So do you have any thoughts or suggestions on how we can trick our kids into having a treat of fall pleasure?
Okay, so here's the other thing. Apple picking, we've been hit or miss with apple picking. It seems like such a fun fall activity, but somewhere along the lines, some portion of my children have discovered that they're just doing free labor. They're just picking crops.
Yes, I have it on my list.
And that was made clear this summer when I wanted to go strawberry picking. Now, there is a payoff. There's always baked goods related to these things.
Right.
But not all the children wanted to come strawberry picking. And I haven't even broached apple picking yet this fall. But I know that one or more children will not want to come because it's just not fun.
Exactly. So I have my list too. And I wrote on mine from apple picker to top chef, because my thought was maybe if they don't want to go pick the apples, you can still, if you have one or two kids who still want to go with you, or you can go with yourself. It seems like something you could do fairly socially distanced. So you could even maybe meet a friend at the orchard and you can pick a row apart and chat a little bit. But my thought was maybe when you bring it home, you can offer each of your kids 6 apples and say, okay, make your best thing and we'll vote on it.
I love that.
Fall for that trick? Would you think they would?
I think mine would fall for baking something. It's not always easy to get them to cook dinner type meals, but they do like to bake.
Bar.
Yeah. So, it's the sugar and butter, and how bad could it be?
Exactly. And
they're going to succeed. It's going to be delicious.
What is the downside? There is no downside. So
I love that. We might try that.
Okay, good. Please report back. Okay. And or drop off at my door what they made so I can judge it.
We might do that. I have another idea that I haven't floated by anyone in my family, including my husband, but I think it would be a hit, at least with the children.
What's that?
We don't have a fire pit, but I just found out, because I Googled this morning after I had the idea. I have like one of those, when you're having a summer party and you put ice and drinks in a tub. Yes. Okay, so I have a metal one that's actually not very good for that, because as soon as the ice melts, it leaks. So you can't put it up. But I thought I could turn that into a fire pit. You put some dirt in the bottom of it, and then just like, I saw the thing that it's not very classy, but
well, no, I mean, we have a fire pit, but it's basically what you're describing, except it costs more money because it said fire pit on it.
Right, and this is something we're not really using for parties because it leaks. So fire is always a hit, right?
Yeah, that's on my list. Fire.
It is. It is. It must be true. Yeah, if we can let them light things and fuss with the,
they can use all those skills they learned in Scouts, right? Like how you get the tinder and the kindling, and you have to get some bellows to get the air going. It's science, Sharon. This could count as a science experiment at home. I think you get science credit for that.
I'll take it. And of course, if they like marshmallows, you've got to roast them.
Yes, Absolutely. I had that on there too, because I said one of the things that my kids used to like to do is going on a hayride with their friends at the, at the apple pumpkin patch, whatever. And that's not happening for a variety of reasons, but the kind of the teen version of that might be the backyard fire pit with s'mores, and you're there, but you're not really there. Like when you're driving and they think you're invisible, it's the same thing. I'm going to tell you, it's the same thing. When you have kids in your backyard, and you've got the door open, you're in your den, and they're right there. But because you're inside and they're outside, they think you are not there. You will find out great.
And you think they can socialize around a fire pit safely?
I would do what this is what my kids came up with. They measured they taped squares. Just like,
really?
Yeah, they taped squares and they said, here's where everybody can be. And then you just one at a time, you go to the fire pit to do your s'mores.
Oh, okay. So they're kind of around it, but approaching the fire pit. It's like ceremonial, like,
yes,
Jennifer, approach the fire pit.
Lay your stick upon the fire. Yes. Yes. And yes, there's all sorts of advantages to that. If you're able to do it, I think that could be done safely. I do agree.
Yeah, okay. I like that idea. And I know fire will be a hit, so I'm excited about that.
Yes. And you just, like have the bucket of water nearby. Maybe you designate roles or have them designate roles. Who is the fire person, fire marshal? That person is in charge of having the bucket nearby in case something gets a little out of hand, which not too likely.
You could have a hose nearby too.
Yeah. What could go wrong? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong. So so the last thing, really, I have two other things on my list, but these are the Halloween ones, because coming back to what I talked about, maybe you don't all know this, but Sharon and I live in Shaker Heights, Ohio. And if you've watched Little Fires Everywhere, it's not quite like they show it in the show, but it's true that our sweet village is fond of rules. And one thing I didn't know until recently is that not every community has designated trick-or-treat hours. Ours are 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. When you're done, you shut off your light, and kids better not come to your door, although a few still do. And I never knew, like, you grew up in New Jersey and my sister's in New York, and I guess their kids can come any old time they feel like it. 4 o'clock.
For all. The preschoolers come at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's insane.
And the doorbell rings till 10 p.m. unless you shut your light off.
Right. My sister had somebody come at 11 o'clock a couple years ago, and she still had candy left, so she got up and gave it to them, but she was lucky, Anyway, so that's just where we live and what it's like, but we revere it. Like Halloween trick-or-treating is revered in Shaker Heights, I would say. Is that accurate?
And we have mobs of kids. I mean, I used to have to buy, I think, for 400 kids in an hour and a half. So
yeah. And like you want to put the ropes out for them, like a rope line. You need like Disney World, but
you could just sit on your step with your bowl or bowls, and be ready. And for the whole hour and a half,
to them probably.
I don't know what we're gonna do.
Well, that brings me to my point: is that since your teens are probably getting to the point where they might have thought they're a little too old to trick or treat anyway. Mm-hmm. Kind of gives all of us a pang the first year they decide that. What I did was I promoted them to I had to write it down, CCO. That is the Chief Candy Officer.
What does that involve?
That involves coming up with a creative method of candy dispersal.
Oh.
Which I think this year is really going to require some ingenuity. Again, this might count as a project for school. If they could come up with some way that, like, you have a long, like a yardstick that you balance the candy on and you flip it into their bag, or maybe designate them as the person who has come up with a way to safely distance. Maybe they put the little markers out for the trick-or-treaters, like, here's your spot, come up to the next spot and then the next spot. Maybe it's up to them to figure out a fun, cool way for your house to be the killer house on the block that every kid wants to come to get candy. Or you can also hand out full-size candy bars, because that also brings them, like, you wouldn't believe.
That could get pricey. I definitely think, though, that the CCO should be compensated with the candy of their choice at the minimum. They get to help choose the candy that they get to be paid in.
Exactly. So you got to find a way. Oh, look, we're having a cat visit. You see my
I
cat?
know, I saw her.
I think they should have some say in the candy procurement, and maybe they even get a candy budget. Maybe they get to decide, like, here's how much we have. Who's offering the best bet that gives what we want to get? Depends on how draconian you want to be about this, but
Yeah.
you know,
It's getting less fun, Jen.
I'm sorry. I know I've had every last bit of fun out of trick or treat. Maybe just throw the bowl out there and see what happens. I don't know.
I did see, I don't know why this was up already. I guess somebody was getting ahead of the crowd, but they had decorated a long tube, you know, like those poster tubes.
Yes.
And, like, wrapped it in orange paper or something. And then this family had a railing on their front steps. So they attached it to the railing, and it was a candy chute, so they could put it through the tube at the top. And then at the bottom, they could have their bag open or catch it.
I saw that too. And that's what made me think of this. It's like, what a fun job. Well, let's not say job. What a fun project for somebody, some teenager in your life, to come up with a great way, a really unique way to deliver the candy. So that's it. That's everything. No, I have one more quick thing, which is the dressing of the pets. I have a friend, her kids enjoyed dressing up their pets for Halloween. They stopped dressing themselves up, but they would dress the pets up. So that's really
fun if you have willing pets.
Yeah, I don't know. Mine would not do it, but
no.
So you have one last thing you want to leave us with?
Oh, I don't really. I mean, I was thinking about fall and how it's changed, and the very first part of that was first day of school pictures, and I had my oldest didn't really want to do that anymore. So it's just kind of the melancholy of letting some of those things go, but you know, looking forward to the next thing. So we should report back later in the fall about how our trick-or-treat CCOs and our fire goes.
Yeah. And I'd love to hear what other parents are going to do with their kids about trick-or-treat. Is it going to happen in your community? And if so, are your teens even interested? You know, what are they going to do this year? Are they talking about it? Is it really just the parents who are talking about it? It's very interesting to me. There's a lot of chit-chat on the community pages about it.
Right.
All parents so far.
All right. So we have a special day next week, don't we, Jen? Are we coming?
We're coming
on Monday.
On Monday instead of Wednesday next week. Yom Kippur is happening next week. And so we're switching with somebody else on our staff who normally would be coming to you live that day, but she'll be celebrating with her family. So that's what we do. We have to.
And of course, if you're going to be observing Yom Kippur, then you can watch us on Tuesday or Wednesday if you're offline.
Yes, and we would be remiss if we didn't give a shout out to our production assistant.
Oh yes,
Jessica, who is helping us bring this to you every week. Jessica is actually going to run our show for us next week, even though she will be fasting for Yom Kippur. But we promised her that we would not make her interact with us, because if she's like me, I would be very hangry at that time.
I think we should watch that we're not talking about candy next week like we did this week. That would be pretty rude.
Yeah, let's pick a topic that's not food related. That's going to be hard for us.
It's always food related. I think we have a topic, but we'll see. We'll announce it next week.
Stay tuned.
All right. We'll see you then. Bye everyone.